Welcome back to Talking Comic with Heroes and Villains. I'm Eric, and this is
Arnie.
And today we're discussing X-Men Schism. Do you like that? Do you like that? That's an X. What that is? That's a symbol.
Yeah, I went to school. X-Men Schism #1. Basically, the plot revolves around Wolverine and Logan's growing relationship and basically their adversarial take on each other.
Yeah.
However,
the bromance is shattering. It's pretty sad.
Well, they've never been particularly close, but the book actually starts out with them growing closer and seeing each other as equals and having that mutual respect that two teammates should have, I guess.
They both kind of fear and respect each other. It's not like a friendship by any means. They just know what they're most capable of, and they know that they don't want to be enemies. That's for sure. So they might as well be friends.
Yeah, and I think that kind of what does that is that whole thing with Jean Grey.
Yeah.
But anyway, the book centers around that relationship and begins with Cyclops and Wolverine actually going to a weapons conference that's being held at the UN, and Cyclops has to give a speech about
just equality in general.
Yeah, and basically kind of how the world needs to get rid of the Sentinels that are these mutant hunting robots, and every country apparently has one. It's kind of the metaphor for weapons of mass destruction or nuclear weapons in the comic book.
They're these Terminators that are programmed to destroy things that are different. They lock in different genetic codes.
Mutants, basically.
Like mutants. There's also a metaphor for racism and bigotry of all sorts, homophobia, all kinds of things like that. But the X-Men is always about equal rights. There's always kind of a Malcolm X character, and there's always Martin Luther King character. I guess that's yeah.
There's always a more peaceful person or a peaceful approach towards equality, and then there's always a more aggressive approach towards equality.
Usually it's Magneto and Xavier.
Right.
But now the X-Men have been around for so long, they're kind of being dated now. Magneto was a survivor of World War II. And if you look in the comic books, he has 15 abs, and he's beating up 16-year-olds every issue.
He's a mutant. He ages slowly.
That's not part of his power, though. He controls magnets. But now he has a little white streak in his hair. But he's a World War II Holocaust survivor, so it doesn't really make sense anymore. And Xavier, when we met him back in the 60s, he was bald and old and wheelchair bound, and he's been around for decades past. So it's kind of getting old. And they have big forearms, I guess.
They're on the Jews, man.
Yeah, but it's getting dated, and it's hard to relate to. So they're kind of making Xavier now Cyclops, and making the Wolverine character the Magneto guy from now on.
Yeah, and actually I have to disagree with you there.
Yeah.
Just because in the book, and here's a spoiler, once everything starts going down and stuff hits the fan, I actually noticed Cyclops was the more militaristic one, and Wolverine was actually the more kind of tender-hearted one. He was trying to keep all the younger mutants away from that, and even when he had to teach, was it a combat class or something? He chose not to. One, because he was too tired, and two, I think because he just came from an actual battle himself, and I think that he kind of felt it wasn't.
Wolverine's a veteran. He's seen war many times. He knows what war is. He knows how horrible it is. He doesn't want to engage it. He doesn't have to.
Yeah.
He's the best soldier in the world. Literally the best. He is at what they're. Yeah.
What he does.
This is the old catchphrase, and it's "I'm the best I am at what I do, and what I do isn't very pretty."
So I think it's starting to get to him, and I think that he's starting to see the other side of it, where he has to take it a little easier and has to. Preventative measures instead of being so militaristic about it and always being the aggressor.
Yeah, and Cyclops was bred for war, though. He's been an X-Men since he was 13.
Right.
He was the first guy that Xavier took into the mansion to train. This is his life's mission, was to be a freedom fighter for the mutant cause. By any means necessary, he's going to find freedom for his people.
So in the book, I saw him.
Eager.
Yeah, I saw him as a more.
That's a good point.
And Wolverine's trying to keep all the younger mutants, all the younger X-Men, from being exposed to violence, kind of at an early age. And in fact, he even gives one a doll, and he tells her to go play with it.
Yeah.
And then there's all kinds of violence on the screen. They're watching the news. Wolverine tells the younger.
He turns on MTV and starts eating ice cream with them, and he's like daddy now.
He's very fatherly, and he tells the younger mutants that to just go to the kitchen and go eat ice cream and finish doing what they were doing.
That can't last though, and that's what I'm excited to see. Is
and Cyclops was the other way around.
Yeah.
Cyclops was like, no, they need to watch this.
They need psyched up.
They need to know what hate is and all that.
It's a little Fred Phelpsy, where it's the guy, it's an older man with a cause bringing his kids into it to fight the war for him.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary, so we'll have to see how it turns out.
It's a little Taliban too, man. I mean, he's really eager to get the younger kids involved in warfare.
It's a good cause, though. I guess in the second issue they're gonna go take on Iran, right?
Yeah. Well, we saw Ahmadinejad in there.
We did, and they're sending all the female X-Men to go deal with that, to demoralize people. The leader's gonna be Kitty Pryde, who's a female and Jewish.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
So that was my take with the Wolverine.
Isn't it hard seeing the schism though? It's kind of like watching like mommy and daddy fight. Like as a kid, I grew up on 90s X-Men cartoons, so
yeah, but I never really liked Cyclops.
Oh really? I love that guy, man. I love all those characters. The fun thing with X-Men is that no one's ever wrong. Really, there aren't really bad guys. There aren't really good guys.
Right.
There's different ideological standpoints.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree with all of them, and I respect and love all those characters. Yeah.
For sure. My only thing with Cyclops was that he always came off to me as the guy that always tried to kind of pad his resume in a way. He always tried to seem perfect, like he had no flaws, and he came off as this really stiff character.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really relate to that.
He's always on the verge of a nervous breakdown, which is kind of why I like him.
And whenever he did have a nervous breakdown, he was the first to turn on the X-Men. Like he'd go side with Magneto or something.
What are you gonna do? One of the funny things in the book too is the X-Men when it came out was a metaphor for race, and now it's sort of a metaphor for like sexual preference, because they moved to San Francisco to be celebrated for the differences. They used to be in New York, and they kept getting like hate crimed all the time, so they moved there now, and they marched with the gay pride parade. There's a mutant pride parade in the books, which is pretty exciting, and there are people who look just like you and me, but under their skin, their genes make them different. So like they wear these costumes when they're with each other. When they're on the streets alone, they just kind of go camouflage. And that's a pretty interesting aspect of the book too. Is that like it's about current social issues.
Yeah, well, there's all kinds of metaphors for like you said, social issues, political issues, and
broken families, broken homes, kind of thing now. And,
right. Yeah. Right, and they do it so well, but they replace something that's in the media right now in the news with a mutant-related topic.
Yeah.
You know, like sexual identity.
Well, you get Martin Luther King telepathy, and all of a sudden it's really exciting. So.
It's not about I have a dream, but it's like, look at my dreams.
I have a dream, and I have heat vision.
And actually, that's another good point of the book, is when Quentin Quire steps in. And
there's a youth revolt. The kids aren't going to take it anymore. And
right.
The older X-Men are kind of okay with like treading water and obeying the rules, but the new kids are rising up, and that's what's heating off this whole battle.
Yeah,
too. They're forcing the adults to choose sides.
There's a huge part of the book that deals with youth and revolt, where one of the main villains is Quentin Quire, that's this teenage powerful telepath that comes back. But there's another surprising new villain, and he's not even a teenager. He's
like a tween with a gun.
Yeah, no, didn't he say he was 10?
Yeah.
So, and he's a really powerful guy, and he murders his dad and kind of pushes him out.
So it's young versus old, and peaceful versus like violent, and it's all kinds of things clashing. So if you're looking for more than just robots and thrown down in your comic books, you want some like social commentary, this new book is the way to go. It's amazing.
If you guys have any comments or questions, then for Eric or myself, please feel free to write them in the comments or Facebook us at